Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. Many of you know that I have been involved in my local Idaho GOP for a few reasons for the past decade. The main one being that this is a one-party state and the GOP acts as the democratic element to the monarchy of the executive and aristocracy of the legislative branches. As you can see, I'm wearing my Mike Simpson shirt, campaign shirt here. So this contributes to the stable mixed regime of the rule of the one, few, and the many, coordinating for the common good. Many of you may think it disingenuous of me to participate in a party I do not agree with 100%. See my video on the Idaho GOP platforms. Certainly, the far-right faction does not want me to participate at all. But let's put that all behind us for the moment, and let me tell you about when the GOP was more truly Republican. To prepare for this video, I read all the National Republican Party platforms from the 19th century. So these are party platforms. We must remember that they represent the views, usually, of a majority of the party. But some planks may only be representative of the views of a minority faction, a minority faction that really wanted to have that one thing in the party platform, and so they were prepared to just walk out, maybe start their own party if they didn't get that. So that's party unity. That's how it works. So among these platforms, I saw examples of classical Republican principles. Let's start at the beginning. In 1856, the party stood against the twin pillars of barbarism. Slavery wasn't only about racial equality, but domination of one economic class over another. Republicans desired free labor rather than slave labor. And also, labor needed protection. In 1872, they said that labor should share in profits, and quote, labor, the creator of capital. Remember here that Lincoln had argued earlier that labor precedes capital. That's a quote from labor precedes capital from Lincoln. In 1896, they wanted to create a national board of arbitration to settle differences between labor and employers. In 1884, they called for an 8-hour workday. Tariffs were not only supposed to protect American industry, that was a major part of it, and provide revenue for the government, but also to protect workers. Tariffs were one way to promote a living wage. Wages were supposed to be high enough to allow workers to save money, so they could afford land. Okay, so we're talking about so they could go into farming and be truly independent. So you have the Homestead Act. You also have some land reclamation. That's huge in the West, especially out here. And this is so they could be so they could own the means of production, so they could be economically self-sufficient and politically independent and not dominated. For the ballot was to be free and unrestricted. Okay, I put that in there because, this is 2022 or 2022, and that's an issue today. Education, the great social equalizer, should be free. They said that. In 1876, the platform read, quote, "The public school system is the bulwark of the American Republic," end quote. And we have something similar to that in the Idaho Constitution of 1890. Republicans were big supporters of the mail service, so people could be well informed. And they wanted it to be cheap and easily accessible and used. Now, on the second pillar of barbarism, polygamy. They opposed it from a non-domination perspective. Women should not be dominated by an overbearing patriarchy. Republicans supported property rights for women, education, and even holding office this is before they could vote, even holding office in state education positions. And then I got a few miscellaneous things here that are just really cool. This is what the Republicans used to stand for. Antitrust. Infrastructure was a means to support commerce and raise revenue. They also supported the merchant marine and a strong navy. That's very classically Republican, especially if you think of Venice. Strong federalism. They were anti-monarchical in Mexico. That was a foreign policy platform. Plank in the platform. Fiscal accountability all throughout this time period. Self-government for the territories. This was in 1900 after we had acquired other territories from Spain. And also an independent Cuba at that time. In 1888, territories, they were pushing for territories to become states, okay, because states or territories are uniquely dominated. They don't really have their own sovereignty. They're dominated by Congress and the federal government. And so they were pushing for them to become states. They were also against lynching. So the positions, these are positions that classical republics would have taken. I mean, you would have seen a lot of things like this in the classical republics of Venice, Florence, Sparta. So this is what the party stood for long ago, and it would do the party well to return to these origins. Long live the Republic!